Welcome to Cryptid Radio. My name is Adeline. I've rigged up this relay tower to bring you this broadcast on the cryptids and creatures of the area. I'll come up and change out the holotape again when I can. With Fosnock having just passed, I'm feeling very nostalgic, so I figured I'd let you all know where I came from and all of that. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri. My dad was a college history professor there. My mom was a hospital nurse. And y'all may not know, but I have a younger sister named Ray. When I was 5, Vault-Tec University hired Dad to be a history professor. Mom was pissed. Apparently, Dad hadn't told her he was applying. He wanted to surprise her with a better life and new opportunities for all of us. She wanted to stay at the hospital. Dad later told me that Mom's job was more important to her than he had realized. He didn't know she was so attached to that hospital. He thought she could help save lives everywhere. They argued. A lot. Finally, they decided Mom, Ray, and I would stay where we were for now, and Dad would travel to VTU to teach during the week, then come home on the weekends. I miss Dad's bedtime stories when he was gone. He'd make up for it on the weekends with movies and games and extra story time late into the night. His stories were the best, full of cryptids, folklore, and mysterious creatures. I'd dress up as Mothman, Bigfoot, or the Greek goddess Athena and run around the house. I'd accidentally scare Ray sometimes when I was pretending to be a monster, and Mom always yelled at me, but it made me miss Dad less when he was gone during the week. After a year of that, Vault-Tec approached Dad about Vault 76. They told him that he and his family would be part of building the future. Ray and I would have every opportunity we could ever want. Mom and Dad fought, again, for several days. They would do it in hushed voices during the day, and not so hushed voices at night. Mom didn't trust Vault-Tec, and still didn't want to give up her hospital. Dad only wanted what was best for all of us. They came to a compromise. I guess you can call it that. Dad, Ray, and I would move to West Virginia, and then later into the vault when it was ready. Mom would stay in Missouri and visit us when she got time off, and it would give her time to decide if she wanted to move or not. Mom never came to visit and definitely never moved. The last time I saw her was through the back window of Dad's atomic V8. I was trying to hold back tears as Ray, squeezing her stuffed rabbit Mom got her for her 4th birthday, sobbed into my lap. I'll never know or understand why Mom chose not to come. I sometimes think about her. If the maps I've seen are right, Missouri wasn't hit. She should have made it. Is she out there thinking about us? Does she regret her decision? Does she have a new family now? When we got to West Virginia, we settled in Grafton. It was about a year before the vault was going to be ready for us, so I got to start school. The girl that lived in the house next door's name was Penelope. Her family wasn't one that was going to be let into the vault. Her mom was a teacher at Grafton High, and her dad worked the printers at the Charleston Herald. Dad said we were lucky that Ray and I were going to be let into the vault to begin with. They weren't supposed to let kids or families in. But somehow, Dad got around it. A week before the vault was ready for us, Penelope and I promised each other that we would write and keep in contact forever. You know, like little girls do. I told you guys before, after I got out of the vault, I went to find her family in Grafton. I still hope they got out. I was 7 and Ray was 5 when the vault was ready for us to move in. We all moved into the vault slowly, starting July of 2076. The vault didn't seal until October 23rd, 2077, when the air raid sirens started. I never heard them. I could just see the panic on the adults' faces. It was scary. In the vault, Dad was in charge of teaching history class and maintaining the library. The library was my favorite place to hide when I got some free time. Dad always had something new for me to read. Because there weren't many kids in the vault, we were taught to our specific interests and skill sets. I was learning to be a politician, which was the closest I could get to a historian in the vault. Ray? She was so much like Mom. She was learning nursing. When we were old enough to have jobs in the vault, I got stuck on janitorial duty. Turns out being a politician or historian isn't practical in a vault situation, especially with all of the other people that already held those jobs in the outside world. Their egos were huge and they butted heads a lot. I didn't want any part of that. Janitorial duty was fine with me, though. It gave me more chances to read. Cleaning never took that long. We were in a vault. There wasn't really any dirt. It was mostly just laundry, which I maybe somehow managed to screw up once. I was reading while filling the washers. It was a really good book. I was quite distracted, and I accidentally overfilled the soap in the washer. There were bubbles everywhere. After that, the overseer banned books in the laundry. If you were a vault dweller, yeah, that was my fault. Sorry. I still snuck them in, though. I was just way more careful about it. While I was on janitor duty, Ray got to shadow a nurse. I didn't get to see her much because of it, only when she'd come to our quarters at bedtime. Sometimes she'd tell me about her day. Sometimes she'd pass right out. In the morning, she'd rush through getting ready. I was lucky if she'd stop and have a bowl of sugar bombs with me before she was off to work again. She was so much like Mom. On April 17th, 2100, Dad had a major heart attack at breakfast. It was one of the rare days Ray was eating with us. She immediately knew what was happening. She had me run to get a doctor while she tried to help Dad. I'd never run so fast in my life. Ray was doing CPR when the doctor got there with his aides. They loaded Dad onto a gurney and took him to the medical wing. We sat there for what felt like an eternity. It was only an hour, but the doctor came back and told us they did all they could, but they couldn't save him. The best doctors in the whole world and all the technology Vault Tech had couldn't save Dad. He was gone. We didn't have funerals in the vault. Dad was just cremated. We didn't even get his remains to put in a little jar like I've read about. I have nothing to remember him by but his stories, the cryptids and creatures and history. Ray was all I had left. I hadn't made friends in the vault. Dad was my friend. And Ray and I weren't close. She had friends that didn't want her weird older sister hanging around, and our schedules were different. We both kind of just drifted into our roles in the vault. Ray became an amazing nurse. None of her patients ever lost a life again. I stuck to my books and my janitorial duties. Ray and I talked less and less each day. She eventually took Dad's room in our quarters, so we didn't even have the chance at night to talk anymore. I didn't even feel like a person at that point. I just existed. Then, one night, a few years later, the overseer announced that it was time for Reclamation Day. We were to have a party. All of the stores of food, alcohol, and whatever else were to be open to us to celebrate as much as we wanted. I didn't go to the Reclamation Day party. I just grabbed a few bottles of wine from storage and spent the night in my room drinking and reading. I read over all of the manuals and materials the overseer had said would be important in the outside world. Then I grabbed my favorite Tales from the West Virginia Hills. I fell asleep face first in the middle of Mothman Cometh, just hours before it was time to leave. When I woke up, I was in a panic. I was leaving the vault late. I shoved whatever books I could get my hands on into my bag. Also made sure to grab a journal for notes. And then I went to find Ray. Ray wasn't there. She hadn't woken me up. She just left. Everyone just forgot about me. The vault was empty as I left. It was so strange. When I was out of the vault, I was too hurt to go look for Ray. I assumed, even though we hadn't talked much lately, we'd still head out together. But she chose her friends, her new family, over me. It felt like Mom all over again. I decided I'd run into her whenever, and we could figure out our stuff then. But being alone, I had an ache to feel connected to something, anything. I spent some time exploring the places around Appalachia that Dad and I had talked about late at night in the folk tales and scary stories, places where cryptids had been spotted. I just stayed to myself, avoiding the other dwellers I came across. I was partially afraid they'd be hostile. I'd read enough about how people can be in a strange world with limited resources and no government. So I wandered, just me, a few books, and a journal. I found resources along the way, built myself a little house, and wrote down everything I could, especially about the cryptids. I still can't believe some of them are really real. Then, one day, I came across Helvetia. It was only a handful of months after leaving the vault, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. There were robots holding a parade. I vaguely remember seeing a parade when I was little. I remember Raid and how loud some of the vehicles were, and Dad helped us collect candy that people gave out. But this one was different. It was just robots and people walking along to some music. The people were together, having fun, being civil. Some were even wearing silly masks. It's not what I expected at all. The urge to join in and be part of it was so strong. But I was afraid. What if they rejected me? As I was watching, I spotted an owl mask sticking out of a paper bag by one of the shops. I snuck over and took it. No one shot me for it, so it was free game. Then I joined in the parade. It was fun. You know how the Fosnock parades go. The music the robots play attract rad toads and super mutants, wolves, and other creatures. But we all work together and keep them protected. I couldn't believe how accepting and kind people were. These were the people I avoided out here. The ones I didn't make friends with in the vault because my nose was stuck in books. They were nothing like the uncivil monsters I had assumed they'd be. Then, all of a sudden, one of them came to me and asked me to join their group. We hung out around Helvetia, protecting the robots for several parades. And next thing I knew, we wandered away from Helvetia and Fosnocht. We started exploring all of Appalachia's wasteland together. They showed me things I hadn't seen while I was avoiding areas with lots of people, helped me learn about the responders and the enclave and everything that happened while we were in the vault. For a long while, I wore the owl mask every time I went out. I was afraid if they saw the real me, they wouldn't like me anymore. Which was silly. I still acted just like me. I just had a mask on my head. Then, one day, I got in such a rush to leave. My friends said they thought they had spotted Mothman close to my house. I forgot to put the mask on. And no one said anything. They didn't treat me differently. They didn't even care. My friends started to feel like family. I missed that family feeling, having my own people. I hadn't felt that since Dad died. It made me want to make a place for all of us. So I turned my home into a cafe. I wanted to have a place everyone could come and go from whenever they wanted. A place that made them feel safe, like the vault library felt to me. And my friends came over often. We'd talk about what we found exploring. We'd even plan fun outfits to wear out together. We found clown clothes, police uniforms, nurse uniforms, and all sorts of silly things. We'd dress up and go out for the day, exploring, killing monsters, learning about the world. All while having fun dressed up. For a solid year, we were together nearly every day. It was wonderful. But then, slowly, they dropped off, one by one. They'd come around less and less, until no one showed up for months. My friends' lives took them on different adventures, but that was okay. They'd still send a note or stop by when they could. And I didn't go back to avoiding people. I did start wearing the owl mask again, though. It made me remember that there are people out there that care. It also makes me feel safe. It's rare that I take it off anymore. It's just become a part of me. Oh, and I finally got up the confidence to go find Ray. She'd set up a clinic close to Point Pleasant, which made me smile. I'd talked about wanting to move to Point Pleasant when we were little. I still haven't got up the courage to ask her, but I wonder if she remembered that. We don't really see each other, but we will leave notes or gifts for each other occasionally. If you're ever in my cafe, a lot of my plushes are from Ray. And I'm not alone anymore. I've made some new friends. Not that long ago, a crazy cultist girl wandered into the cafe. She started rambling to me about Mothman and other cryptids, and I had so much information to share with her. And she listened and listened. I didn't realize anyone else could enjoy learning about cryptids as much as I did. It was amazing. And it gave me an idea. I'd listen to old radio shows with Dad sometimes in the vault. Dad always told me recorded history is some of the best because you get the emotion and the feeling of it that you don't always get in a book. He also said people would talk about anything and everything on the radio. Why couldn't I tell people about my research in cryptids the same way? So, I started recording these holotapes. I cleared out the relay tower at Uncanny Caverns, and now you all have Cryptid Radio to listen to. I hope you enjoy listening as much as I enjoy sharing. Until next time, keep your eyes open and stay safe out there.